Wonderful. Well, it's good to be with you guys. I don't know how romantic we can be at 9 a.m, but we're going to try. We're going to work on it.
Well, y'all are. We're not together.
Oh, we're just friends. We're friends.
Clarification.
So.
Jeez Louise.
But I am glad that
you guys have done this before.
Yeah.
No, right. We are like an old friendship, brother-sister couple.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you guys for being with us today. You guys have done incredible ministry in terms of keeping your relationship strong and in your marriage. And what has that experience been like, having your platform be your life, your living everyday married life? How has that been for you guys?
Yeah, it's not always easy. I'll start with that.
Yeah, it's kind of humbling because you just think about, what we've experienced, the flaws, the issues, the stuff that everybody doesn't get to see, but we know it's there, that God sees, and just how he's used that. It's pretty humbling when we get these opportunities and feel like kind of chosen to share our story and what he's done and impact other people.
I want to make sure that I have the name of your ministry correct.
Yep, it's Happily Married Couples.
Happily Married Couples. It's okay, and then I have a comment for that. And it's Jackie and Stephana Bledsoe, Jackie Bledsoe Jr. and
Goodness gracious.
Falling
apart. Stephana?
We'll get it together. Stephana, like
Stephana.
Indiana.
Or like a fan.
Yeah.
Stephana. Ooh, I like, that's a really good one.
Stephana.
All right. Okay, here we go.
Hello, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast from the City Rise Network. Hosted by Jennifer Dennis and produced by me, Justin Kello, we're a podcast that was supposed to be focused on parenting, but we've kind of lost the plot along the way. Honestly, we don't know what this podcast is about, but we talk to incredible people who love Jesus, and our hope is to provide encouragement and fun whenever possible. If our lack of clear direction bothers you, we apologize, but no one is making you listen to this podcast, unless you're married to Jennifer. Andy, thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast. We're excited to have you today. Today is a really great show because we're talking about marriage, and we're talking about our own marriage night that's coming up in October. There are great things to hear, and we are so glad you've joined us. So let's begin. Was that such an more
so
official?
Perfect. It was so good.
An official greeting?
You're getting so good at this.
That's what everybody's always saying.
Yeah, everybody's always saying that.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Jennifer, how are you?
I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
I went to so, Langford Grocery is like this really popular, and I told you I'm kind of off hamburgers a little bit, but I went back. I decided to dive in.
The one in Bel Air?
Yes. I had to pick up my relationship with hamburgers again. And I went over there to eat the one in Bel Air. It hasn't been open for long, I don't think.
Mm-mm.
And it's like the other location is in Montrose.
The other one's like a house, like
it's
a converted.
It's like a house.
Yeah.
It's not many seats. There's always a line.
Yeah.
So it's very weird for me to go from this experience that's in the middle of Montrose. You have to get there early. You have to get there in line.
Yep.
You finally get fed. You're starving. To just having it within 2 miles and it's open. There's no line. You walk in and you get a Langford burger. Mm-hmm. So I've been twice now, which is, I know that's kind of a lot for it to only have been open like a week or two.
It's been open longer than that.
So, but here's the deal. They have a Frito pie burger.
Oh, that sounds like a sloppy mess.
I'm wondering, would you eat a Frito pie selection that's not on Fritos? It's just on a bun.
I know you would, because we went to Bernie's Burger Bus before it closed down, rest in peace. And you got this like triple layer mac and cheese slop burger. And I think it may have cost you $48.
So I had no idea what was coming. All I saw was that it described the sauce that looked incredible.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to have this burger. And I think it was called the bus, the burger
as big
bus.
As a bus, I guess. I don't know.
And that I did not know it was their eating challenge burger. That thing shows up and it is as big as my head.
Yeah.
It is huge.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm still holding against that sweet little Nancy that used to work for us. Did I tell you this already in the podcast?
I don't know. I was there though. I experienced it firsthand. We were there as a staff.
I'm trying to eat this burger. I immediately cut it into fourths. It is giant.
Yeah.
And I'm eating it and she looks over at me and she goes, "Atta girl."
Yep.
Oh.
She was cheering you on. She was proud of you.
You don't know.
She was proud of you.
Atta girl. I couldn't that was the end of our friendship.
Everyone else appreciated it. I'm just going to say that flat out.
Everyone laughed.
So Nancy earned points with everyone that day but you, because we all thought it was hilarious.
She went down a couple of pegs.
Yeah.
Atta girl.
Yeah.
But so I've been thinking, now they did have like Fredo, they have like these big, they have tater tots that are like loaded tater tots.
Listen, Langford Grocery,
delicious.
It's really good. And their onion rings are incredible. So like, it's a great experience.
Are they amazing?
They're amazing. Because like sometimes you get onion ring that's just like the batter doesn't have any flavor. It's just like fried. Like there's nothing to it. These are good.
Well, it's funny because I said, we want an appetizer. Maybe we'll get the loaded tater tots. She goes, and then she said, are you sure you don't want the onion rings? And I should have gotten the onion rings.
Now you go back for a third time.
So I was wondering if you would eat like a Frito pie on a bun.
I don't eat sloppy burgers. I used to be drawn into, they always have like a Tex-Mex burger that has guacamole on it, and it sounds great in theory, but it is a slippery, sloppy mess. And so I do not want a burger that I really have to work to keep together. So I don't deal with that, but I do. But they have enough varieties at Langford that you can find something that you love.
Oh yeah, yes, they have tons.
Yeah,
that's interesting. You're not a messy burger person.
No. But I will say, for me, I recently read an article. So like on TikTok, listen, they've incentivized long videos to where you make money if your video is long enough. And so now I've got this taste of like making money on TikTok. And so I'm always trying to find a video that's interesting enough to keep people's attention for longer than a minute. And so I found that if you screenshot articles of parenting, people sometimes get an interest in those. I found an article yesterday that the major point they made was that you should treat your children like the family puppy.
Well, there you go.
Do you know what they mean by that?
I would guess that it's like immediate reward, feeding them.
House training. Yeah, that's what I think.
Right.
They say when you walk into a room with your puppy, especially new, like now your dog is he's kind of a bully.
He's completely taken over.
He's kind of a bully. But like when he was little, did you just light up? Like, were you like, especially the first few weeks, like this puppy, like you would get excited. Hey, like
yes, of course.
Just get so pumped. They say do that with your kids once a day. Do that with your children where you get so excited to see them. You get down on their level. You give them a hug. You engage with what they're doing. And then that's going to build up this concept of they know that you cherish them and like them for who they are, so that when you have to give consequences and redirection, it doesn't hurt so much. But like this idea, and I was like, okay, with teenagers, you obviously can't do that but there is a way to like do something like that. Just smiling when they walk in the room.
I love that.
Or just acknowledging, like with your spouse. Obviously, you're not gonna be like, I'm so happy to see you. But like when they walk into your room, okay, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
But when they walk into a room, if you haven't seen them, like just ask, hello, I'm so glad to see you. Give them a hug. Like do that with the people in your life that you love most. And I was like, okay, it sounded crazy, but I'm really gonna try.
I would have liked to have seen you do this because
I'm not great at it. I just read the article yesterday.
I bet it would feel really. I think Andy would have a hard time with that because I don't like when I see Andy and I'm not. If I don't know that I'm going to see Andy and I see him out in the wild, like if he's at my work and stops by to do something, it's the same every time. I'm like, Andy.
Okay, well then you already do this by nature. I'm sure Olivia loves it that you do that to her as well.
No, and here's the deal.
I think you got to tone it down. I think it turns into a lot of an eye roll. I think it turns into something else. I think it's a smile. I think it's just acknowledging like, hey, I'm glad you're here. Good to see you.
Yes.
Like it's still the same concept. You just got to scale it down.
I love that because I think we really quickly move into you have to earn this. And that's the one I think hard part about parents who are really trying to raise their children to be respectful, to have kind of control over what they're doing, to have it's like you've got to earn this smile. You've got to earn. And it's really sad that we don't give that lavishly because we serve a God who gives that lavishly.
Yeah. No, so I appreciate that. That's something I'm working on. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. I'm really excited about today. We've got a great conversation.
It is a great conversation.
Yeah.
And talking about like showing people that you love them or taking your relationship to the next level. Today is going to be the way. Well, we're so excited to have you guys today because everyone is always trying to improve their marriage. So you guys coming and visiting with us today is a blessing. Let me introduce officially Jackie and Stephana Bledsoe of Happily Married Couples. Welcome, you guys.
Hey, we are glad to be here, guys.
Glad to be with you.
Wonderful. Now, Jackie, you are a writer. You've written 2 books, correct?
Correct. Well, written the 7 Rings of Marriage, and then we did a Bible study version of that as well. So it's workbook and all that. So
and that's been a bestseller. That's a big deal. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a blessing. It's blessed a few couples and blessed us as well.
And now you guys are speaking and you are encouraging groups of people and some of the lessons that you've learned in your life. And that's actually why we're on the call today or on the show, is because you guys are coming to City Rise to speak with us.
Yeah.
You're going to be here for our marriage night that is coming up in October, and we could not be more excited.
Yeah, we are super excited about it. First, we're just excited to come to Houston. I've gotten a chance to talk to Ben over the last few months and getting to learn a little bit more about City Rise. And we're looking forward to meeting the couples there, hanging out. What Ben have talked about is going to be a fun night. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I think it is going to be a fun night. Can you tell me a little bit about your story, how you began this story of ministering to other couples in their marriages?
Yeah. You want to start?
You can start.
I'll start. So it was not intentional. This was not like we were like, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do when we grow up and we get married. It was a lot of challenges, a lot of mistakes, and God was just kind of shaping and molding this through the years. We are from the same hometown. We're not high school sweethearts. We probably don't have time to unpack all the messiness that was going through our relationship and our friendship in high school, but we moved to a city. It happened to be 5 minutes apart from each other. We connected and we ended up pregnant. So that's how we got started. We ended up pregnant before we got married. And here we are trying to figure things out and knowing that we're kind of out of order and like, okay, what do we do now? And God just had his great grace and his favor and allowed us to connect with other couples who were many years above us in relationship in their marriage. They kind of mentored us and took us under their wings, and we started to learn God's principles for marriage. And up until that point, this is about a year after marriage, after we did get married, after our daughter was 10 months. But about a year later, we kind of went through our premarital counseling at our 1-year anniversary, which, makes no sense because pre comes before. But that was game changing for us. And it kind of launched us into a hunger for the things of God, a hunger for knowing how to relate to one another better in marriage. And I think that was the spark that started, and many things happened since then. You want to add anything?
Yeah, I would just say also the mess that we were in, the ugliness, the mistakes and the sin that was in our relationship to begin with, I think is what broke our heart for couples who might be in similar situations, who might not have started off the right way, but to know that there is hope through the grace of Jesus. So we're just grateful and, like Jackie said, humbled that we get to do this in spite of all the mistakes we feel like we made. Yeah.
Well, I love that ministry because it takes, I believe, a lot of courage to be really transparent. Sometimes I think people, when they're having really difficult times in marriages, they go back to, I'm with the wrong person. This is not the person. And if they are fully convinced that they married the wrong person, everybody else has it right because they married the right person. Sometimes you don't see the journey. You don't see the progress. You just see if it's wrong or it's right. And I think to have someone to speak in that space of, boy, it was really wrong and now it's really right is so hope giving to people struggling in marriages. Now, when you talk to couples, what do you find currently that people are struggling with? Where are people in their marriages?
Yeah, one of the things that I see commonly, we get emails, get feedback from couples, people reaching out, is 90% of the time, couples are looking at the spouse as the problem, at their spouse as the problem. So whether it's the basic things, communication, trust, money, intimacy, sex, all that, but it boils down to if I'm looking at that person to make things right versus me and what God is working through me in this relationship. One of our mentors gave us this analogy, and I'm probably going to mess it up. I haven't said it in a while. Pastor Willett said that basically, we got a hammer and a chisel, and God is hammering. One of us sometimes is the chisel, and one of us is the thing that is being chiseled. And so God is yielding that, and so it is painful to get. God is using one of you to chop off the things that he doesn't want there. And so for us to realize that it's just not because Stephana does this and our marriage won't be right until she changes that. No, it's like, okay, God, what are you showing me about me? And so I think that's where a lot of couples get stuck. Is all of us, she's got issues, I got issues, but if we're continually focused on the other person's issues, then we're not getting the work that God wants us to do on our hearts, which will enable us to see him differently and each other differently.
That's a really powerful perspective. Like, if I think about problems with my spouse, I immediately blame him. Like every time. he's actually pretty great.
Well, our pastor says there's too much of me in me is what he always says. Is like, I got to address the fact that there's too much of me in me. Like you start with yourself for sure. And that's hard when you are living in such close quarters with somebody. You're going to see their flaws, but better than you see your own. Like, so in a certain way, you need to not be thinking about their flaws, but you also need to be asking them, what flaws do you see in me? Like they need to be that chisel. And I love that illustration.
I've never even thought about it that way before, about them being used as a chisel.
Well, we just got our money's worth. All right.
There we go. Stephana, do you also speak? Are you also speaking as well at the conference?
Yeah. How does it work, the two of you together? I'd love to hear that.
You want to share?
How does it work?
When you are sharing at a conference, like what can we expect at this conference? Like what's going to be going on?
Yeah, well, we are pretty real. So there's a little banter, I think there is. But we have just grown to, I think, feel and hear one another's pauses and where we can interject, and it is our story. So it's pretty easy to share transparently. The Lord has just showed us that the mistakes that, early on, we didn't want to share, some of the messiness, but it's not about us. It's about what God wants to do through the things that have come through our marriage. So it's become a little bit easier, I'd say, to find those spaces where we can talk together about our story.
Yeah, and I'll add this. Hopefully this doesn't happen, though. We have resolved disagreements on stage, live and in person on stage.
No.
Wow. So now it was helpful, but we hope it doesn't happen. Hopefully we got our stuff resolved before we get on stage at City Rise in Houston. But I'm expecting, like you said, Stephana said, a lot of realness, just transparency, because that is what we're a real couple, just like everybody else. God has given us the blessing to be able to share, on a stage or in a book or whatever it is, but we still experience challenges and things that we need his grace to help us through.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So let's talk about two different types of couples, a couple that's in a good place and a couple that's in a bad place. So starting with the couple in a bad place, what can they expect? What is the value of what you're sharing? Why should they sign up for what's going on here at City Rise in a few weeks?
Yeah, I'll say hope. A lot of times couples get into those situations. We were in this situation and we just felt hopeless. We thought that whatever situation that was hard in our marriage or our family and our life at that time, we thought that was our entire marriage. This is the best we have. This is the way it will always be. And then we had those other couples who shared different perspectives, which gave us hope. And then we knew there were other things that God had for us, and this wasn't the way it was always going to be. This was just a season, or what we talk about in my book, this is like a ring of marriage. This is one part of your marriage, but there are other rings. What do we need to do while we're here to continue to grow closer to Christ and closer to one another?
Too, I think that...
Wait, that wasn't even my question.
Oh, sorry.
The second part is for people in a good place. So I think a lot of times when we see a marriage event, we're in a good place. We're like, well, I don't need that. Why would I go to that? So when we're talking to a couple or a couple's listening, that's like, well, my marriage is pretty good. Like I feel like we're kind of rocking and rolling. What would you say to that couple about why they should take part in something like what you're presenting or any marriage activity like this?
Yeah, I think being in fellowship with other couples gives you the opportunity to realize how healthy your marriage is and what you can be sharing with other people, so that you don't just hold that to yourself. It's important to mentor the next couple, to look for another couple that you can sit down and have coffee with and encourage them to remain hopeful.
That's really great.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, you can go on now.
Can I proceed?
Whatever your question is.
Good gracious. I think that, it's funny because you were talking about how you guys decided an argument in the middle of, it's crazy to me how fluid relationships are. It's crazy to me how fast we can go from a good place to a not great place. And it's so fast and it's moving all the time. And the stability of a long haul relationship has to have things in place that are a lot more steady, a lot more consistent than just the day-to-day interaction in and out. What are some things that you found to be those consistent pieces that hold a good marriage together.
Yeah, I think, in Christian circles, you hear this all the time, prayer. Yes, prayer is kind of one that you don't really have to mention, but you do have to mention. But we have truly, truly relied on prayer and just leaning on God and His grace and His word that He's deposited to be an encouragement. Stephana used to have her life verse is Galatians 6:9. And so do not grow weary while doing. In the proper time, you will reap a harvest if you don't give up. And so she used to have that posted above the kitchen sink. She got it engraved on her iPad, all these different places, because there were times when we drifted into one of those scenarios and she needed something to get back. So I think prayer is one. And then a really practical one is, maybe you want to break down our parent meetings?
Yeah, well, it's just being intentional with your time together. So we would come home we were a homeschooling family, and we'd come home from, wherever it was, community day or the grocery or whatever errands we had to run. And we decided that when we come in the doors, we have 15 minutes of just spouse time, just Jackie and I. We would go to the bedroom, we'd close the door. We might have a conversation about finances. We might have a conversation about the calendar. We might have no conversation. We might have some special time between the two of us. But whatever it was, that 15 minutes was set aside for just the two of us, and the kids grew to understand that we don't interrupt mom and dad during that time. They're having a parent meeting. And so that intentional time, just on a regular basis, strengthened our relationship. You'd be so surprised how little of intentional quality time makes a difference.
Yeah, and the kids were instructed to not come in. And when I say not come in, my instructions were, you only knock on this door if 911 cannot help you. We're your last option.
Right. I'm sure they think there's a lot of reasons that you should be calling 911. You probably had to go through those too.
Right.
I've never heard anyone say that before. I've heard people say they had to have time with the Lord every day, but I've never heard anyone say ever take 15 minutes for you and your couple every single day at the same time. I've never heard that. I'm like 103 years old. Wow. Wow. Have you?
I haven't. I mean, the thing is, what's so unique about that is anytime parents get alone time, it's after the kids are in bed, and they're just like, bedtime is like the last kick in the shins before like you get to go to sleep. Right. And so you are literally at your worst, and you've made it through, and then it's like, all right, now honey, let's have some special quality time. It's like, don't even look, like, I am so angry right now. Like, so this idea of coming home and just, if it's an iPad, you have
a little left.
Yeah. If it's an iPad, if it's a TV show, say, hey kids, you do this for 15 minutes and we're just going to go hang out. I love that, to let you get through the last part of the day in a good space, I think is huge too.
My husband's on this new health kick, which is really good. It's great. But he's connected to all of this stuff like online, to where, he's putting all of his food in, all of these levels. So now he can tell me what, and you guys may have this, his body battery, like where he is.
Oh, he can rate
so
where he's at.
At the end of the day, he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I've only got 20. I'm at 20 on my body battery. Yeah. I'm like, I need a body battery. He's like, yeah, I'm down to 10%. I'm out. I'm not doing that. But I really love that commitment and perspective. That's wonderful. Some couples will hear that and they'll be like, I do not want 15 minutes of therapy.
Well, then you need to come to this little gathering. Happily couples. Yeah.
Okay. So at the end, let me
do this one thing.
About our thing.
I do want to know, talk a little bit about your book, Jackie. I'd love just a little bit of an understanding. And I know you've talked at length about it to other podcasts and other people. And so I hate to ask the same question, but I really want our people to know specifically this resource that they can walk away with or get before the event actually happens, to kind of get a preview of what's going on.
Yeah. So the book is named The 7 Rings of Marriage, and it is literally our marriage journey. Mm-hmm. I remember the night when I first came up with the concept and we were writing, I needed to ask Stephana for help. I was like, babe, I get this analogy of rings and marriage. Let's kind of sit down and play with it and see where our relationship fits in. And so it's literally different. It's technically different seasons of your marriage. And every couple who becomes a happily married couple experiences every one of these seasons and begins to, what I call now, master the rings. Because at first we were looking, okay, yeah, we're in this season, we're in that season, and we shared it with couples, and they were like, oh my goodness, this resonates so well. We can see we're right here. Mm-hmm. But we started to realize that at each ring, when you find yourself there are certain things that you need to grow in, to develop skills, whatever, marriage skills, whatever it may be, so you can continue to progress. Because the object is to continue. You're in one ring, grow and progress until you get to the most mature stages in marriage. So if you want me to break some of them down, I can share the actual rings with.
I'd love that.
Awesome. So the first ring, you want to share with me, or you want me?
Sure.
All right, I'll let you start off with it.
So the first ring is the engagement ring, and so that is setting the foundation on Jesus Christ, who is the author of marriage.
Yep. So you're coming up with some core things that your marriage will be based on in the engagement ring, and then you get to the wedding ring, which is where that's the official, and when you really put the wedding ring on past the engagement in real life, that's when you make the commitment and you say, I do, in front of everybody. And that leads to not just that major commitment there, but a series of commitments over time that you have to continue to make this marriage continue to grow together.
Yep. And then the next ring is the discovering. So after you've said, I do, you begin to learn about this person that you now have yoked yourself for life with. And not only about that person, but you do learn so much about yourself, because most of us hadn't been married. And so you don't know what you don't know about marriage until you're in it.
Yeah. And then what the big thing that you want to get out of that is you want to become a lifelong learner of your spouse and your marriage. Just that commitment where it's not like school. I'm through 12th grade or I'm through my senior year in college. I got my master's. I'm done studying. No, this studying never stops when it's with your spouse and with marriage in general. And this we were discovering. Now you're at the persevering. And the persevering is the fourth ring, conveniently right in the middle. So I say it's the fork in the road. Some couples go left, get out of the marriage. Some couples stay right, stay in it. And some actually stay in it, but just resolve, okay, this is it. We're not going to do any better than this. We're not going to work at it. But it's persevering because God's got something on the other side. It's hard, but God has something when we persevere. And so our first marriage conference that we spoke at, it spoke about the 7 rings of marriage. The first time we'd ever delivered it in public, immediately after I walked off, a guy walked up to me and said, you forgot a ring. And I'm thinking in my mind, this is the first time I presented this. Maybe I did forget a ring. So I'm running through my mind. And he said, you forgot the suffering. And I was like, and he kind of chuckled a little bit.
That's a great one.
Oh, yeah.
Suffering.
So
very helpful.
He was kind of joking, but I was like, okay, yeah. We intentionally did not put suffering in there because we're not suffering for suffering's sake. We are persevering because God's got something on the other side of that.
That's great.
So then after the persevering, what comes?
Yeah, then there's the restoring. So after you've discovered and you've persevered, there's some broken pieces, some broken hearts, maybe some hurt things. So you are getting really good at forgiveness, putting things back together.
Oh,
Yep. And then we've got after restoring, prospering, and that's where yay, we made it happily ever after. Not so much. You're in a different season. You look back and your marriage is really in a great space. But it doesn't mean it's without challenges or without problems. The difference is now your perspective is different. And those arguments or disagreements that lasted 2 days to 2 weeks or worse are now 2 minutes or less. Well, we're addressing these things quicker than we used to, or they're just not bothering us as much.
Mm-hmm. And so after prospering is the mentoring. So after you've gone through all of these seasons in your marriage, you want to give back. You almost have the responsibility of sharing this, multiplying it, helping another couple to be hopeful and to see what the seasons are that they might go through.
Yep. So that's the 7 rings.
I love that. Well, if people want to learn more about your ministry, your book, where do you want people to go? Website, social media, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So happymarriedcouples.com is where everything is. You can also find us on the social media links. The Happily Married Couples are there. And then for the listeners of the Almost Amazing podcast, did I say the name right?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So we've got a link set up for you guys. Go to happilymarriedcouples.com/almost amazing. And when you go there, you're going to find a free quiz to assess your marriage. So I encourage everybody, especially if you're coming to the event, to go through that quiz so you get familiar with it, get your results, and then it'll give you something to discuss too, because we'll have some fun, engaging moments in the conference for you to engage with your spouse.
Oh, I love that. Okay, we'll put those links in the show notes as well. If you want to go to this event on October 6th, if you visit cityrise.org/marriage night or just cityrise.org/events, it'll be in the list. But to directly go to the event, cityrise.org/marriage night, and you can register. There's still time. We'd love to have you be a part of that. But before we wrap up, we do have a final question.
We do have a final question. I'm going through two in my brain, and I think I'm going to go with this one.
We all answer it. We'll answer it first. It's just kind of a fun question.
If a restaurant were to represent your personality.
Oh.
If a restaurant were to represent your personality.
Wow.
What food establishment would you be?
Gosh, I wish it was Chick-fil-A, but it is not. I am not nearly as kind, patient, or servant-hearted as Chick-fil-A. That's like what I would aspire to be is Chick-fil-A. It's probably more McDonald's because like they say the ice cream machine is broken when it isn't because they're just tired. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, like we already cleaned the machine. Like that's me is like the food is pretty good, but the service isn't so great. So like for me, the end product of what I bring is pretty good, but like if I'm tired, I'm done. Like
you're
it's
consistent
like,
and
hey,
you're fast.
We're closing the store.
But you got some real clear boundaries.
Yes.
You got some real clear boundaries.
Yeah.
I think where are you guys? Are you guys in Texas or
we're in Indianapolis, Indiana.
That is far.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you guys for visiting with us today.
Yeah.
What time zone are you guys in? Is it the same one? Okay. So for me, I think that my personality fits with Papacitos. And that's
a Tex-Mex restaurant here.
It's a Tex-Mex restaurant that is always busy and happy. And there's like the celebrate
and overpriced
tone. It's overpriced. It's ridiculous. There's always a strange smell you can't define, but
but people love it.
They put butter on their chicken fajitas, which is delicious. So I think it's that always ready to party. I think at a drop of any hat at Papacitos, you could be dancing.
Oh, well, there you go.
And for me, that's my personality.
I love it. I
give me a note and I'm dancing.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
So first, Ben told me about that restaurant. So now it's sold that we have to go there. So if you guys have a partnership with them, you guys have sold us. We will be there. But you want to start with your restaurant personality?
Oh, I would say maybe this is challenging for me on the spot, but I think I'd say Japanese restaurant of some sort, hibachi.
Oh yeah.
And probably because the combination of, flavors and the process. And so I'd say I'm a little complicated.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like a good food commercial right now. It's like, man. So for me, it's a family establishment, something where the kids are welcome and it's fun for the kids. The grandparents can be there in multi-generation where everybody's around the table. And I would say probably, and I don't know if this exists, where you can either see behind, maybe it is what you're talking about too. Maybe you can see behind the kitchen where you can see everything. Because everything happens in our family, you can actually see it. It happens. You'll see it on stage when we share. So something where it's open, where you see the process, you see the messiness, you see the grease or dirtiness on the floor, but all the family is there.
I think you may be talking about a Waffle House.
No, that's incredible.
I think you just described a Waffle House.
We love to stop at Waffle House. Remember that when you travel drive long road trip?
It's open all night
too. So I'm a Waffle House.
There you go.
Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you for chatting with us today. If you watch or listen, we thank you for joining us. We'd love for you to send this to someone, to encourage them, to inspire them in their marriage, to tell them about the event coming up on October 6th. We'd love for you to sign up and bring another married couple friend. We'd love for you to be a part of that. Yes. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe, like this on YouTube, and email us at podcast@cityrise.org if you have suggestions for people that you think we could talk to.
Excellent. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being with us today. We so enjoyed we cannot wait to have you here for the marriage night. We think you're going to be such an incredible speakers and encouragers to our people. So we're looking forward to it. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you guys too. We hope you've had an almost amazing time on the Almost Amazing Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Almost Amazing Podcast from the City Rise Network, based in Houston, Texas. City Rise is a partnership of church campuses, nonprofits, and missionaries devoted to lifting our city and the world by generously giving the gospel of Jesus Christ. For more information or to find a church campus close to you in the Houston area, visit cityrise.org.